What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV. This is the Royal Report, episode 9, a Sacramento Kings sports talk show for fans, by fans. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below if you enjoy Kings content like this. And also make sure you guys smash that like button as well. Welcome into today's show and happy holidays, everyone. It is December 24th. We are wrapping up a week worth of Kings action here in about 30 minutes. So De'Aaron Fox turns 24 this week, and it also is the 1-year anniversary of this show.
That's right. Happy anniversary to Royal Rebounds. We made our debut last year on Christmas Day. Hard to believe that it's already been 1 year. Feels so strange.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us, Royal family. It is a casual Friday for me. Barry, you didn't get the memo, I guess.
I did not.
That's okay. We'll still carry on. As we always do, we'll kick things off with some news from around the league. The top story in the NBA continues to be who isn't on the court. COVID-19 has been rifling through NBA players at the same rate as Buddy Hield missed field goals. As of yesterday, more than 90 players were in the NBA's health and safety protocols, and the newest additions to the group are some big names. Bradley Beal, Karl Anthony Towns, Luka Doncic, and this year's #1 pick, Cade Cunningham, are all now going to miss time thanks to outbreaks. Postponing games has been a last resort for franchises. However, 2 more were postponed earlier this week, bringing the total to 9 games. The league is going to announce a new health and safety requirement that could reduce the 10-day quarantine period to as little as 6 days to help manage the situation. Barry, I don't know if this is going to fix problems, but does the NBA have a bigger issue on their hands?
Oh, they definitely do. COVID is ravaging teams around the league. It's also destroying my fantasy team during the playoffs, which is very, very unfortunate. I just lost Alvin Cook this week, which is a huge blow to my team. Speaking of missing guys, the Chicago Bulls are going to be without Alex Caruso for the next 7 to 10 days due to a sprained foot. And also, an ex-Bull, Derrick Rose, just got ankle surgery. He is out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's a big blow to the New York Knicks that have already been struggling.
Yeah, a lot of guys are missing time due to COVID outbreaks, but some people are just straight up hurt. As LeBron James has aged, he has fell victim to the injury bug more and more often. This year is no different, as the Lakers forward has appeared in just 20 games this season. LeBron will turn 37 this month and is still the most talked about basketball player in the world, yet one can make the argument that he's not being talked about enough this season. James is averaging over 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists while shooting 51% from the field. He's also playing a lot too. Much like Tom Brady, he seems to be defying time itself, averaging 37 minutes per game this year, which is good for second in the NBA. 5 years ago, when LeBron was 33, he became the oldest player in NBA history to lead the league in minutes played. That season, he averaged slightly fewer minutes per game than he's doing this year. Barry, LeBron isn't on anyone's front list to win MVP, but is what he's doing being overlooked at all?
Oh, it's definitely being overlooked. LeBron is an incredible athlete, and I think we're a little spoiled seeing this level of play for him for so long. You forget just how talented and how amazing this guy is. He is truly playing incredible this season. You cannot say the same for the LA Lakers, as they are on a little bit of a skid here. And speaking of skids, your Sacramento Kings have had a horrible week of basketball, falling 1-3 this week. Not very good performance. They got worked by the Grizzlies. No bench production for your Sacramento Kings. You know, this team is ravaged by COVID and also an injury to Richaun Holmes. So many of those productive bench players are now moved into starting roles, creating opportunities for guys in the G League and some guys on the Kings that don't get many minutes, but it does not look good in the win category. They faced off against the Spurs this week as well. The only game that they were able to win, 23 big points by Damian Jones, 29 for Buddy Hield, and Haliburton is playing incredible, 27 points in that game. along with double-digit assist numbers. Wrapping up the week, the Kings lose to the Warriors and the Clippers. The Warriors game is much closer than it was just a few weeks ago, but the Kings struggled to get some defensive stops and make buckets towards the end of the game. And this Clippers game was just a complete blowout. The Clippers led from start to finish. The Kings made a couple runs during this game, but they were not able to get stops, and they were not able to get back into this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Kings fans need to take this week with more than just a grain of salt, maybe a pound of salt. It's very, very... it was a very, very tall order for Sacramento, having to deal with the schedule that they were facing this week, some of the best teams in the league, also being down so many players. They did get Richaun Holmes back, which is a big help for this team, but it's obviously going to take him some time before he gets himself back acclimated to playing, get his endurance level up. He's also going to have to adjust to now playing with both a mask and goggles. There was one really, really shining star for the Kings this week, and that was Tyrese Halliburton, who played fantastically. And speaking of Tyrese, even though the Kings were severely undermanned and struggled mightily this week, there was one blinding bright spot, and his name is Tyrese Halliburton. Centerpiece Tyrese absolutely balled out in his first opportunity to lead this team while De'Aaron Fox was sidelined. Hallie is now on a 4-game streak of at least 20 points and 10 assists, which hasn't been done since Ty Lawson had 3 such games back in 2017. He's playing so well that there were chants of trade Fox echoing through Golden One Center the other night. Barry, I know you're a big Tyrese fan. Are you ready to hand the keys to the city over to Centerpiece?
Centerpiece Tyrese, I love the sound of that. It sounds great. And actually, I am ready to hand the keys over. But just to correct you there, Calvin, Tyrese Halliburton is the first player in Sacramento Kings history since they moved to Sacramento to average over 20 points and over 10 assists in 4 straight games, which is truly incredible. He's averaging 23.5 and 11.3 over the last 4 games. He is playing out of his mind. In retrospect, last season, he had only 5 double-doubles throughout his entire rookie year. He's already had 6 just in the month of December. He's also shooting incredible from 3-point range. He's shooting 45.2% for December and over 50% for the last 3 games. Centerpiece Tyrese might be the future centerpiece of your Sacramento Kings. We're going to talk a little bit more about your Kings after this quick break. The masked man is back. Richaun Holmes returns to action this week after missing the past 7 games. The Kings have really lacked a big presence inside and have really missed Richaun. Us fans are happy to have him back. He returned against the Clippers, and he is now wearing a mask and goggles. I know he's been quoted saying, I'm going to lose the mask, but I think I'm going to play with the goggles for probably the rest of my career. Calvin, what are your thoughts on Richaun and his return? What does it mean for Sacramento?
It means a lot for Sacramento. He is definitely one of the most important players on this team. Anybody that averages in the teens in points, gets rebounds, blocks shots, and shoots over 70% from the field is a vital part to your success. And you could totally see that, even though he only played 17 minutes in that game and didn't play most of the second half. In short bursts, we saw exactly what they missed from him on the court. He had that great block, then continued to run the floor and got an easy bucket right after that. The Kings severely missed this guy. There's no question about that. And getting him back is the first step into getting more and more guys back that's going to lead to this team being able to play more consistently.
Yeah, the Kings have really missed Richaun Holmes, and getting him back is the first step in getting to this Sacramento Kings team back on track.
Yeah. As Richaun has missed a lot of games, we've seen some new faces with the Kings. Like many NBA teams, the Sacramento Kings are trying to navigate this season through a COVID-19 outbreak that's forced 6 players to miss multiple games. To stop the bleeding and to continue playing, the Kings signed Justin Robinson, Emmanuel Mudiay, and Ada Murphy to 10-day contracts. Barry, it's unlikely that any of those guys will remain with the team after their contract is up. But the bigger question is, what impact is having to sign multiple players who will play games without ever practicing with their respective teams have on the NBA as a whole?
Well, Cal, the immediate impact on the league and teams overall is going to be losses that are piling up due to the inability for some of these star players or bigger name players or the better players on these teams being able to play. But for me, the major losers in this are the fans. Many fans are not going to be able to see their favorite players on the court in person or on TV due to many of these guys being sidelined with COVID protocols. And then you could talk about injuries and how quarantine is going to affect players on later in the season. That's still yet to be seen. But the Kings here have had to sign, it seems like a guy every other day here, many guys that I've never even heard of before. You and I had both been enamored by Emmanuel Terry and what he's been doing down in Stockton. We'd hoped that maybe the Kings would call him up. But they did sign a different Emmanuel this week, Emmanuel Mudiay, the international man of mystery. He was a first-round pick by the Denver Nuggets just a few years ago. He fell out of the rotation there, has been playing overseas. I think the Kings have been strapped at the point guard position due to health and safety protocols for De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell. So bringing in another ball handler for Sacramento is huge. And I really like what I've seen out of Mudiay in just the short time he's been here. I like him as a player. I like his potential. I like the upside from him. I might be open to him sticking around a little bit longer or maybe sending him to Stockton to be ready to be called up again in case the Kings are faced with any more of these health and safety protocol quarantines. Speaking of quarantines, Alvin Gentry remains in quarantine with COVID-19. We've seen the emergence of Doug Christie, and many fans, myself included, have been calling for Doug Christie to be the head coach for the rest of the season. Just a quick look here at Alvin Gentry. He's taken over a few different times in this same position. Back in 94-95 season with the Miami Heat, Kevin Lowry was fired halfway through the season. Alvin Gentry took over and went 15-21 through the rest of the year, missing the playoffs. He also took over for the Detroit Pistons in 97-98 for Doug Collins. He finished that season 16-21. He was able to take over a Phoenix Suns team in 2008-2009 with some Hall of Famers on that roster and Shaquille O'Neal, Amari Stoudemire, and Steve Nash. And he was able to finish out the season with an impressive 18-13 record. And the very next year, as his first full season with that team, they went 54 wins and they lost to the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. So looking at Alvin Gentry's resume, he's obviously been in the league for a long time. He has a ton of experience. I don't know what you could look for as far as his potential and future in leading the Sacramento Kings, but he could potentially be the right guy to help finish out this season with Sacramento. He's so far gone 16 games and has a 7-9 record. However, many fans are looking at the green grass on the other side of the fence, and that grass is Doug Christie at the moment. I, for one, have just loved the energy, loved the enthusiasm, loved his connection that he's had with these players. And I want to read a little quote here. Doug Christie says, playing defense and playing at a really high and really hard level, it hurts. It doesn't feel good. You have to stop on a dime. You have to fight through screens. You have to do the things you don't like to do. That sounds like a pretty good attitude there and something you really want to see from your head coach. Calvin, what are your thoughts on this Christie versus Gentry debate?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I've really loved everything that Doug has done since he's been in this new interim head coach position. I don't want to take anything away from him. I think the players really enjoy having him being the voice on the sidelines, and it's a very loud voice, as we've come to learn over the past few games. However, the way I'm looking at this, for all of the stats and the reasons that you just mentioned about Alvin Gentry, when the question is who's the better fit for the remainder of this season, I look to him for his experience, the fact that he's been in this situation before, it's easy to forget. Doug Christie, not only has he never been in this position before the season, he had never spent any time as a coach on the bench at all for any team. He's got a lot of experience as a player, but this is all new to him. So I just feel like for the time being and the situation that the Kings are in right now, we can really lean heavily on Alvin Gentry's experience to get through the remainder of this season. And if you're thinking long-term, it might actually benefit Doug Christie if he goes back into his assistant coach role in terms of being able to get a job, head coaching job long-term in the future. Because if Doug Christie is the guy for the rest of the season, the Kings lose a bunch more games and miss the playoffs, I think it would be a lot harder for him to use that resume as a launching pad into a head coaching position over some of the other guys that we're going to see the Kings interview in the offseason. Whereas if Gentry is, quote unquote, the fall guy for the remainder of the year, but we still remember what it felt like to have Doug Christie on the sidelines and how good that experience was, that might actually benefit him going forward.
Yeah, and either way, both of these guys are going to be on the bench through the rest of the season, whether it's head coach, assistant coach, interim coach. Both of them will be working together to help right the ship for Sacramento.
Absolutely. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, it's your time. Cowbell questions. Welcome back to the Royal Report. It is that time. We're ringing the bell. It is time for us to take some fan mail as we turn the show over to you in a segment that we like to call Cowbell Questions, where Barry and I answer all of your burning Sacramento Kings questions. Let's get our first from our producer, Vinny.
Is Richaun Holmes a top 15 center in the NBA?
All right. So for this question, I'm definitely made sure to do some research because I wanted to get this right. I really like Richaun Holmes as a player. This is a tough one for me. So let me start by saying Richaun Holmes this season averaging 13.6 points per game, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, shooting over 70% from the field. All great numbers. As I look around the league, Barry, I came up with 11 guys that I could pretty confidently say I would put ahead of Richaun Holmes. Those guys would be Embiid, and this is in no particular order, by the way, so don't at me. Embiid, Vucevic, Allen, Jared Allen, Miles Turner, Clint Capella, Bam Adebayo, DeAndre Ayton, Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Jonas Valanciunas. After that, it gets a little bit tougher. So I've got 3 other guys here that I'm not so sure. It's borderline. Jusuf Nurkic, this year he's averaging 13 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Bobby Portis is having a surprisingly good season in Milwaukee. 15.6 points, 9 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block per game. And then lastly, we have Lamarcus Aldridge, who might be an all-time great, but he's still doing all right this year. 14 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. So that makes 14 guys. I couldn't really come up with any other name that I would even consider throwing ahead of Richaun. So the short answer to this question for me is yes, I do think he's a top 15 center. It's a narrow margin, though.
Wow, you actually did a lot of research on that. I did not do as much research as you, but I feel like the center position is always really tough when you're ranking the guys because it's like who's a power forward, who's a center, where's Anthony Davis? You mentioned Lamarcus Aldridge. That guy's pretty much been a power forward the majority of his career. Now that teams are playing a lot smaller, he's thrust kind of into that center position. So that kind of muddies the waters a little bit for me. The way I look at this question, is Richaun Holmes better than half of the centers in the league? I think he's right in about that middle of the pack category. So I'd say he's between 14 and 17, somewhere in that range. Next question.
High tops or low tops? What's the better basketball shoe?
Well, people have different preferences. I personally prefer the low tops when I'm not playing basketball. However, if I am balling on the court, you got to have the high tops. You got to have the ankle support. My ankles are actually one of my best attributes, Calvin. I rarely ever have a sprained ankle, and that's even wearing low tops. But I think I have to say, when I'm on the court, I'm going with the high tops.
Well, I am not as lucky as you. I have sprained and broken both ankles in my playing career. I've sprained them more times than I can count. I actually love low tops. I love the look of them. I love wearing them. However, I just can't do it physically. My ankles will not stand up if I wear low tops. It's got to be high tops. I actually had a doctor tell me when I was in high school that I should never play basketball without wearing ankle braces. So that tells you right there, I need all the support I can get. Got to go high tops here. Next question.
Better player, Buddy Hield or Kevin Martin?
All right, I'm going to go back to my notes here for this one. So Buddy Hield, career numbers, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 43% from the field, 40% from 3 as a shooter. Kevin Martin, I was actually surprised how similar their career numbers are. 17.4 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 43% from the field, and 38% from 3. I'm going to go with Kevin Martin here as the slight edge over Buddy Hield, just because I feel like Kevin Martin is a better overall scorer than Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is a better pure shooter, but his inconsistency compared to the fact that Kevin Martin was a 3-level scorer and could get you buckets more often when you needed them. For example, I realize Kevin Martin did play a few more years than Buddy Hield has so far, but Kevin Martin 7 times in his career averaged over 20 points a game. He did it 4 times in his first 6 seasons, and he averaged 19.8 points a game the season after that. Buddy Hield has done that, averaged over 20 points per game just once in his career. So give me Kevin Martin.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think it's as close as you made it sound. I'm taking Kevin Martin with a landslide. This dude almost averaged 25 points a game one season with Sacramento. And as you mentioned, he is a 3-level scorer. This guy can do everything. He can handle the ball, and he's a good shooter. He's not as good as Buddy Hield, but he is a great shooter. I remember a game I went to against the Cavaliers where it went into overtime. LeBron had 50. Kevin Martin had 40. Kevin Martin's been in a different position than Buddy Hield. He has had to lead a team, which Buddy has never done. And I think it goes down to mental mistakes and stuff like that. So I'm taking Kevin Martin. And another thing I would have mentioned here was Kevin Martin said that there's one guy that's been very, very important in his development and helped him learn defense. And that guy is Sacramento's own Doug Christie.
Hope he can do the same for Buddy. That's all the time we have for Cowbell Questions. Thank you, as always, for your submissions. If you would like to have Barry and I answer a question on a future episode of the Royal Report, write it down in the comment screen below this video and hashtag it Cowbell Questions.
Yeah, make sure you guys write them down there. Calvin loves ringing the bell, so as many questions as you can write. We got to have Calvin ringing his cowbell. All right, moving on. Should the Kings move on? Currently, the Kings are in the 12th spot in the Western Conference. They are 13-20, dealing with injuries, dealing with COVID, dealing with a new coach, and all the whirlwind rumors and drama that's going about. Many Kings fans ask you, and I'm going to ask you right now, Calvin, is it time for the Kings to throw in the towel?
Well, no, it's not time for them to throw in the towel. Look, there are 49 games left in the regular season. That's more than half the year. And currently, despite everything that's happened for Sacramento this year and how much they've struggled, they're missing all these guys. They're still only half a game out of the 10th spot, which would be that final play-in tournament spot. And they're only 3.5 games back of the 6th seed, which would avoid the play-in tournament altogether. Kind of hard to believe, but the Western Conference has really been a jumbled mess so far this season. You add in to the equation that all these guys have missed so many games. Fox has missed 4 games. Barnes has missed 5 games. Richaun Holmes has missed 10 games. Davion Mitchell's missed 4 games. Tyrese Halliburton's missed 2 games. So there's definitely time for the Kings to, if you want to use the term right the ship, that's fine. But there's time for them to make at least a play-in tournament run here. No question about it. The thing about the Kings is they have got to fix their defense. We said it all last year, and somehow, even though we felt like maybe at the beginning of this year they'd improved a little bit, they're right back close to the same numbers as they were last year. They're 29th in points allowed at 114 points a game. They're 26th in opponent field goal percentage at 47% per game. Those are the things that have to turn around if the Kings are going to make a run at the playoffs.
Yeah, my bet of Kings over 36.5 wins is not looking too good at this moment. But as you said, it's still young in the season. There's
fun as we've got games against the Grizzlies, who now have Ja Morant back, a guy who didn't play in either of the two demolitions of the Sacramento Kings earlier this year, followed by games against the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks, who now may be without Luka Doncic. How are you feeling about this week of Kings basketball?
Well, the Kings have a few days off here to hopefully get some guys back, hopefully work on the defense, limit some of these turnovers. Maybe they need to have another players-only meeting to try and figure out exactly what's wrong with this team. But it is a light week for Sacramento Kings basketball. Only 3 games this week. First up, you do have the Grizzlies, and Ja is back. However, I've heard the Grizzlies are a worse basketball team with Ja Morant on the court. I heard fans chanting to sit him. Maybe he needs to be traded after they went on an incredible winning streak with him out. And although he's only been back for 1 or 2 games, they have not been playing up to that fan base's expectations. I think many Kings fans can kind of understand where they're coming from. But it's interesting comparison between what's going on with him and what's going on with Fox in Sacramento. I think getting Fox back is going to be huge for these Kings. It really depends on when he comes back, when Davion comes back, when Marvin Bagley comes back, and some of these other pieces. Next up is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know on paper they are not the best team in the NBA, but they have been playing better as of lately. So that is definitely not a game that you can just mark off as a victory. The Kings have to show up. They have to do the little things, and they have to be prepared to play against this team. And then, as you mentioned, we have a game against the Dallas Mavericks and then another one next week as well. Both of these games could potentially be without Luka Doncic, which is good news for Sacramento Kings fans. And, the Kings need everything that they can get at this point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. Hopefully the Kings get a little bit healthier as the week continues on, and we can get some more wins. They can make up some ground in that playoff race. I want to thank everybody for watching out there. Again, happy anniversary to Royal Rebounds TV. This marks our 1-year anniversary on Christmas Day, and that's largely in part to the support that we receive from you guys. I want to make sure that I thank every one of you out there. Barry and I do this out of the kindness of our hearts and for fun, but you are the ones that help keep this going and make all of this possible. So thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you all out there. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to join the Royal family. Also want to wish everyone a happy holidays. We will see you all Sunday post-game after the Kings hopefully defeat the Grizzlies, but who knows at this point. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, and in the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.